What do you think the biggest mistake couples make when getting married?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say something that is probably going to make a lot of your listeners not very happy.
What? Let's get canceled today. Let's do it.
But here's my opinion. Here's my opinion. I think it is insane, crazy to spend $40, $50, $60, $70,000 on a 6-hour event that we call a wedding. It makes me crazy when I see the debt that people get into. I'm like, oh my God, you could put a down payment on a house.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Introspect Club, a club where you can learn a lot about yourself through conversations with other people. My name is Damisse, and I'll be your host. And I'm not going to be the only host today. We have actually a special guest, an honorary co-host, which I'm very happy to have on this show. Allow me to introduce Christopher Below from the Roommates podcast. What's going on, man?
Man, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be back. I know I'm back by popular demand. I know people begged you.
Hey,
you need Chris back. We want him back, and here we are.
He's
confident,
confident.
Everybody.
He's confident, not cocky. Make sure you guys know that. So today I brought in Chris because there's a conversation I don't think we've had enough of on this show. And we're talking about finances when it comes to your relationship, right? A lot of people have aspirations to be in a loving, fruitful relationship, but they don't talk about or spend enough time being concerned about the financial aspect, because building love and building a loving environment in your home and in your relationship also involves building wealth. And I want to bring the right people in this conversation. How do you feel about that, Chris?
I feel really good. I think that, like you said, the conversation needs to be had, know, right. And I think more of these kind of conversations are going to bring awareness to it, because, once you understand what you're truly trying to do, and you're trying to do it with a partner, you have to have the right systems in place, or it can make things a lot harder.
Yeah, it's true. And it's crazy. Like, I hear a lot of people online, and they spend so much time trying to figure out who's going to pay the bill on a date. And they have no idea what happens after that financially. Like, they don't even know. They're like, did he pay? Or did she say thank you because I paid? Like, just trivial things. I'm just like, there's bigger issues you guys haven't even experienced yet when it comes to finances. And they're talking about really trivial things. And I want to bring that conversation to the forefront, so that way we're not, not educating ourselves on this topic. You feel me?
Exactly. Especially, when we're at this age where we're dating, or we're in a relationship, some of us are even married, and it's not really talked about. I don't know how a lot of people's backgrounds are, but, my parents or church or organization didn't teach how to manage finances, really, let alone a relationship, even by yourself.
Exactly.
So it's like when you add another person involved, and they have their habits, they have what they learn, and they're bringing all their stuff, how y'all gonna plan when you really even plan yourself?
Well, I appreciate that. Before we get going, I want everyone to know that this episode is brought to you guys by Skyline Trust Investment Group. If you are a motivated investor that wants to buy or sell a home, make sure you reach out to these guys. They have helped me out a lot, and I'm wearing their hoodie right here, which looks a little,
I like it.
Sexy. So make sure you guys reach out to them. I'll leave their link in the description below. So let's get going with the conversation. So I want to introduce a very special guest in this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the financial coach from the Money Mentor Group, Alissa Locke. What's going on? Look at that smile. You giddy as all hell.
Such an applause. My God.
How you doing?
I'm great. I feel like I was having my Britney Spears moment, like, with the crowd cheering. I'm great. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
Well, I appreciate it. So give us a quick little background of who you are, like a 30-second elevator pitch, who you are, what you're about, and what your mission is.
Sure. Well, Money Mentor Group is a financial coaching firm, and we work with people that are struggling in some way with both their mindset around money and their behavior around money. So that could mean looking to, figure out how to pay off debt. It can mean trying to figure out how to stick to a budget. And we work with a lot of couples who are having struggles with a vision maybe that isn't the same, and just everyday money management that causes conflict.
Interesting. What got you into that?
Well, it was really my own journey with money and my own relationship, and going through some mistakes that I made and some relationships that were impacted negatively by money. And then my own journey to be able to retire early. And that was a shared vision that my husband had as well. So really was my own personal experience that made me so passionate around helping others to reach their financial goals.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the first question, and then Chris can take the second one. You said that your own financial journey got you to this point, right? So give me your biggest financial failures and then your biggest financial wins in your journey to where you're at right now. In the context of, like, not just yourself, but in the context of your relationships, your romantic relationships.
Yeah. So I have been married twice.
Okay.
My first husband and I, great guy, super nice guy. But when it came to money, we were a toxic combination.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I know what that is.
We had a different mindset around money. We had a different vision of what we wanted. He was more of a spender, and I was more of what they call a money hoarder, meaning I feel safe and confident and good when I don't spend my money, right? Okay. I hang on to it. When I do spend, I spend with guilt. Okay. And that's a toxic combination. And when I left that marriage, with $60,000 of debt. That was from, some bad financial decisions that we had made, and very little in savings. And so in my early 30s, I found myself a divorced single mom.
Oh, man.
With all this debt and no savings. And I felt depressed and defeated and hopeless because I knew better. Like, I knew this was not what you were supposed to do.
Right.
And all I kept thinking was, how did I get myself here? And it took a lot to work my way out of that situation.
Wow.
And so that, I would say, that was kind of my darkest period.
So what was your biggest win?
I'd say my biggest win was marrying somebody who had a similar vision for where we wanted to go financially, and having the self-discipline to do it and be able to retire early. And now I am what I call work optional. So I retired, right?
Okay.
And work optional means I don't have to work, but I work because I love what I do.
Okay.
And it's a great, let me tell you, it's a great place to be.
Chris, why does it seem like she practiced that?
I mean, it felt good. You know what I mean? I feel like, that's something. She earned that sentence, honestly. That's why it felt so good when it came out.
It took a lot. Let me tell you something. It was 20 years of working hard, being very strategic in my career choices so that I could maximize my earnings. It was 20 years of investing heavily.
Yeah.
It was 20 years of living below my means. It was not easy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it seem like those 20 years were horrible. Like I, didn't have a life and I never went on vacation or never ate out or, any of those things.
Yeah.
But I definitely was very intentional about my life choices, my lifestyle, and my money choices. And I truly believe that anybody can do it.
I appreciate that.
I didn't inherit a ton of money. I didn't marry a millionaire. I didn't win lottery. Like I was just your average person. So I believe if I can do it, anybody can.
Well, that's good. Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree with that. I think, just the mindset it starts with that, you have to believe in yourself and you really have to have that heart change. If you don't have that heart change, you ain't gonna see no action behind it. And if you do action and you haven't had a really completed heart change, once it get hard, then you're gonna stop and you're not gonna do it again.
No, that's real.
So I agree with that 100%. Like I've been in the industry and I have seen and heard of these stories, even interviewing people just like we're doing now, where people say they have, gotten to the other side. So I know it can happen. It's just like they have to choose for themselves if that's what they want. So personal accountability is really everything if you really want to see change in your life. And my first question is, like, with your experience, Alissa, when it comes to men, like, we do men before they get into a committed relationship, like I'm owning, I'm trying to protect and provide for my family. Before they do that, in your opinion, actually I have two questions. Do you feel like you see more men that you mentor that have their finances together, like it's established, it's here, they can provide a lifestyle, like they are set and they ready to move forward and go to, advance, versus where it's like the guy that still has to, get his life together, still has to figure some things out. Which do you feel like is a better situation for a single person again? Should he get his finances in order before he take dating seriously? Or can he date around, find the right person, y'all can all do it together?
Good question. I don't think there's a steadfast rule one way or the other. I think the most important thing when you're dating is transparency. So if your finances are a hot mess, you got to own it, right? And you have to be transparent with the people that you're dating. I'm not saying like on the first date, say, hi, my name is Joe and I'm $80,000 in debt. Like, I'm not saying you have to like the first date say that. But, if you're, have lots of debt and your credit is messed up and, maybe you don't earn a lot right now because of your job situation, at some point, if you really want to have an open and honest relationship with this person, you have to fess up. And it's the same thing for women. So I would say that's the first thing. I wouldn't hold off on dating just because my finances are a mess, because you know what? Maybe you're going to meet somebody whose finances are also a mess. And you guys go on a financial journey of improving together. And that's something that binds you.
How likely is that to happen, though? Like, if both people are trash, who's the catalyst to make that change?
Both people are trash.
I'm sorry, man. If you're financially trash, meaning like you guys are both in debt, you guys have no discipline, you guys have no mentors, and you guys are just frivolously spending, and you guys are both trying to live above your means. How likely is it that somebody in that relationship is going to wake up, or does it take someone of the opposite mindset to do so in that relationship?
I think the kind of the American way is we want it today, right? And so we finance it to get it. Like that's the American way, right? You want a new car? Well, just go get it. I mean, right? You just finance it, right? You want that new couch, you just go get it. You finance it. So it's kind of our mindset is we want everything right now, right? I mean, if I order something on Amazon and it's not going to come for 3 days, I'm like, oh my God, it's so long, right? Like, we want stuff now, right? Yeah. So, you know, I think it's really common for Americans to live this lifestyle where, you know, we set up our lives where, you know, it's hard to invest because we've got the payment that we financed for our cars. We've got the payments because we financed our house. We've got the payments because we financed our education, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think sometimes it takes some kind of disruptor in our lives that's a wake-up call in order for people to make a change. For me, that was my divorce and finding myself, you know, this single mom, right? Okay. That was for me the catalyst for change. I know for other people, sometimes it's things like, you know, realizing that you can't buy a house because you have no money for the down payment and you know, you don't have good credit and nobody will approve you for a loan, or, whatever. Well,
before you get too far down that road, you mentioned something earlier that I just want clarity on. You said you don't have to mention like your financial status and situation on the first date and so on and so forth, which I get, right? So help me understand when and how is the best way for couples to bring up their financial situation, goals, as well as, you know, habits. When does that come up and how does that come up? And I'm talking about like, you know, if you got any debt, if your credit score is trash, okay? Or if you know you have you're a sucker for a designer that you can't afford, right?
And like, also if you're capping out here, a lot of people be capping.
Oh, please speak on that.
Yeah, a lot of people will flash like they have this upscale lifestyle and then, you know, attract a certain kind of woman. Okay. And now you got to keep up with that lifestyle. But now you've been dating this woman for a few months and you realize, you know what? I should not be keeping up with this lifestyle. Now you feel like you got to regress. And this is where the conversation happens right here.
So tell me, Alissa, like, when is the best time to really be vulnerable and speak about your real financial situation, whether it's you're extremely wealthy and you were trying to keep it a secret, right? Or you are, you know, in the dumps, but you're trying to date, but you don't know how to really communicate that.
Yeah, I would say it's when you start revealing other kinds of personal information. So for example, you know, I don't think that's something you need to talk about on the first date, because on the first date, you're just like, do I even like this person enough to have a second date? Like, you know, I
run a credit check after I get their phone number.
No, you know what I mean. You're just dipping your toe in the water, like at that point, right?
You ain't playing no games, man.
But I wouldn't wait too long, because I think for some people it would be a deal breaker, and I would be pretty angry if my value system, right, as a woman was, to be like, part of my core values was to be fiscally responsible.
You said you'd be insulted?
I wouldn't be insulted, but I'd be mad at myself that I wasted so much time with somebody. Like if I was dating a couple of months, and again, something that was really important to me was fiscal responsibility. And then after, 4 or 5 months, I find out this person was extremely fiscally irresponsible. I'd be mad at myself, like, why didn't I ask those questions earlier? So I think as you start to peel back that layer of someone and you start to learn more about them, I think it's important to ask some general questions.
Give me an idea. Give me an idea of, let's say, if it's not first date, is it second date? Is it third date? And let's just put a number on it, just to be like it shouldn't go past this amount of time or dates. And then I want you to tell me, like, verbatim, how would you bring it up to, let's say, a person you're dating? Okay, so start with the timeline.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to give you a range because I don't know that I can say like by date number 5, like
you sound like every Twitter post.
Yeah. But I would say, I don't know, maybe after a month or so.
Okay. After a month,
I would make some general statements.
Okay.
And see what the reaction of the other person is. So here's what I mean by general statements, right?
I'm taking notes.
If you're, financially having some struggles, right? I might say you might say something like, I don't know, I'm working to improve my credit. Or, right, I'm working to better myself financially. Or I'm working to pay off my student loans, right? Or I'm working on controlling my spending. Now, that other person is either going to say, oh, yeah, me too, in which case you might be in the same boat, right? And right. Or the other person might kind of give you the stink eye and go, okay, what do you mean? Like, how bad is it? Right.
Okay.
So I think, it's okay after, 3-4 weeks of dating to just kind of dip your toe in the water on this topic and see where it goes.
Which is the better?
I'm not saying you have to like say exactly how much you earn or exactly how low your credit score is or exactly how much you owe, but I think you owe it to the other person to start the conversation.
Chris, how do you feel about that?
Agreed. I mean, I think, perspective and clarity brings freedom. You have to know what you're signing up for. And if you are going to be in a long-term committed relationship with someone, you need to be able to share, what's really going on. And if you can't do that with someone, then it's like, well, like, why are you even really talking to them if you feel like you can't even share with them? And I think that's something that you just have to have. If you're going to have a commitment, you have to give all and they have to give all. And that's sharing stuff that we may not be proud of. But if she's or he is the one for you, like if they want to help you, they will help you. If they feel like they can't do it, then at least they be honest and y'all not wasting time. I understand why Alicia's point. You don't want to look back like, dang, like it's been 2 months. And you just not telling me how bad it is. Like, that's not going to be, good either. So I think communication is very important. And when you feel like you need to have that conversation before you really deep dive into it, then you definitely need to do it.
So let me ask you a question, Alissa. Which is worse, a person that responds with a similar like issues like, I suck with my credit too, I'm trying to fix that too, or the person that's super judgmental about your credit even though they are in a better situation?
Oh, I'd say the person who's super judgmental. That person's
worse.
In my opinion, because if they're judgmental about that, they're going to be judgmental about other stuff too. So I would say this is a character trait that just for me personally, because people can change, right? So that's where they are today. It doesn't mean that's where they're always going to be. Like I had talked about my first husband who, back when I was married to him over 20 years ago, he was a spender. You know what? I have no idea what he is doing financially today. He may have woken up after, when we got divorced and realized, hey, I want to do something different financially as well. And he might be, a millionaire now, for all I know. So people can change. I don't think that if two people are both in the same boat of, not having the mindset that maybe they know they should have, right? When it comes to money, that means that it's always going to be that way. What it does mean is you have some tendencies, right? That you have to control. So let's take the dating again. Let's say you're dealing with two people who are, very overweight. Okay. Right now, obviously, you can see that from the get-go, right? But let's say
depends. If you're dating in the winter in New York, you might not be able to see that.
Well, right. A big puffy coat, and But let's say you're both struggling with overeating, right? It doesn't mean you're always going to be like that. Maybe you go on a weight loss and health and fitness journey together. Okay,
fair enough. What is the biggest mistake couples make financially before getting into a relationship?
You mean before dating or before marriage?
No, before even meeting the right person. Right? Because your financial status starts before that happens, right? So there's a lot of decisions people make before they meet the right person that affects them when they do meet the right person. So what are some of the biggest mistakes people make financially before they meet their partner?
Well, one I alluded to before, and that's thinking about short-term wants and lifestyle instead of thinking about what the end goal is or long-term.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in, oh, I want to, live my life today. You've got FOMO and YOLO, like fear of missing out, and you only live once, right? That's what those things stand for, right? And you've got that mentality of, I'm going to live today and enjoy today because who knows what tomorrow will bring. And that's fine if you're only going to live today.
Yeah.
But most of us are planning on living a long time.
Yeah.
So, you'll pay for those ways, right? Later in life. And so I think, that kind of failure to plan for your future is a big mistake. I think the other mistake that people make is not knowing what they're doing with their money every month. So if I were to ask the average person, what do you spend every month? What they would say is, well, my rent is, $1,500 and my car payment is $500. So that's $2,000. Like they could kind of rattle off their fixed recurring expenses. But guess what? Right? You guys are probably like me, right? Before I started to track my money, right? My credit card bill would come and I'd open it up and, oh my gosh, 26 purchases from Amazon. What the heck did I buy? Right?
When you say you guys when you say you guys, you mean me and Chris?
Well, in general, just
I don't do Amazon, but I understand some people definitely do emotionally spend. So they will just spend something. They spend it on Starbucks. It doesn't matter. So they're spending.
So I have this app that tracks all my credit card purchases, right? And it sends everything that I purchase into a category. And then I set certain budgets for each category. So I get alerts as well as I get, I periodically check how I'm doing in each category. So if I know that I'm drinking too much this month, or I'm spending too much on, gas or whatever, I'm driving too much. You know what I mean?
Things
like
that. Yeah,
exactly. That's your approach, because some people, they may just all right, I'm gonna pay all my bills and let's see what I got left over, and that's how they really budget. Yeah, what I mean? They will just, people have their own financial behaviors, and they'll do their own system, and then because they really looking at the dollar amount, how much they making. Yeah. Like when people make over 100,000, they just feel like they just financially set and they just free. Yeah. But to me, just because a doctor makes $400,000, if he spend $390,000 every single year, he's still broke. Technically.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's the spending habit is the problem. No matter how much money you make, you're going to spend all of it. You still gonna be in the rat race. So Alissa, I'm sorry, I just got passionate.
So Alissa, I can see somebody hurt you. Alissa, what are your thoughts on? I'm gonna sound very misogynistic here, so I don't.
Here we go. Please bring it out.
First of all, stop screaming into the microphone.
You're right. I'm back up.
So what are your thoughts on people? And this goes along the question of people's decisions before they get into a relationship, right? Let's talk about people having preferences. Okay. What are your thoughts on, let's say, women who aspire for financially affluent men based on a specific number that they are earning per year, right? Versus pursuing men based on specific habits they have or goals, right? You got something on your mind, Chris?
Character. I will for 100 for me.
I'll take character for 100, Bob. What are your thoughts on that? Because that is an ongoing discussion as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are the same, whether it's a woman who's looking for a man who earns a certain amount of money, or a man who's looking for a woman who's earning a certain amount of money.
They're out there.
Right? Fair enough.
Okay.
Right. So here's my thoughts. I get it on a certain level that they want somebody who is going to help them achieve their vision of their life. And I think that if that's the person's thinking, they have to be transparent about it.
Okay.
Because if you're not transparent, that's when it leads to problems. But if you're transparent about it, own it.
Yeah. Transparent meaning what? If this is how much money you want your man to make, own that standard and just say it up front.
Yeah. I mean, marriage is in some ways an agreement between two parties.
Okay.
Right. And there's things that you need to have conversations about and agree on.
Yeah.
When it comes to money, when it comes to how you're going to raise your children, when it comes to sex, when it comes to where you're going to live, it's a deal that you're making with somebody. And it's not right to break that deal on any of those important topics. So those are all things that I hope couples who are dating have those conversations and are 100% honest about how they feel. Now, there's nobody who's perfect. I love my husband.
I thought I was.
Yeah, well.
Oh, carry on.
I love my husband, but there's things about him I wish were different, and I'm sure he can say the same about me, as perfect as I am. Pick up your damn
socks.
But you know, on some really key things, we made an agreement, and we have to honor that agreement.
Chris, what do you feel about that?
No, I believe that's facts. You know, it is definitely an agreement. Like, you have to understand, you have to know the deal before you sign the contract. You got to know the terms and conditions. You got to know what you're signing up for, because if your expectations is here and then reality is here, all this in between is disappointment, lack of joy, lack of happiness, frustration, anxiety, resentment, all that just bad. Mess up marriages. We see divorce. We see it. But if you flip it, if you can really have your expectations at a healthy level where you know what's going on, y'all have a plan, y'all see the vision, y'all gonna do it together, and let alone more willing, your reality is up here. Yeah. Joy, happiness, fulfillment, love, compassion.
Wow. He preaching today.
I know. And you know, there's even a term for people who are not honest with their spouse financially. It's called financial infidelity.
Oh.
And that's an actual term. Okay. And it's financial infidelity is where one partner is maybe hiding a credit card, right? Or hiding purchases that they've made, or not being truthful about what they earn. And it is just as much, infidelity as the typical kind of infidelity we think about.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think financial infidelity is the biggest financial mistake couples make when they're in a relationship?
I don't know if I would say it's the biggest.
What do you think is the biggest?
I would say it's the most toxic. It's the most severe.
So give me an example of the most common mistakes couples make getting into a relationship or while they're in a relationship when it comes to money.
I'd say the most common is not being 100% truthful with how they feel when it comes to money. So for example, let's say one person, communicates that they want to, live below their means and max out their 401k to save for the future and live a simple lifestyle, so that they can invest heavily. And the other person is like so blindsided with love. They go, oh, yeah, me too. When really, that's not really what they want at all. Oh. Right? So I would say the biggest mistake is not, first of all, understanding within yourself, your relationship with money, and then being 100% honest with the other person about what you want that relationship to be.
Mm. That's beautiful. I have a question, Alissa.
Yeah. And
I feel like I have like multiple layers to this question, so we're gonna see how we can make this work. Okay. in our, I guess algorithm, community, whatever, I see a lot of discussions about, as a couple, the man is supposed to provide 100%. And there's the other wave where, there's 50-50. My question to you is, what have you seen is the most common, and what do you feel like works the best?
Oh, you hitting them hard now. Okay.
I'm just trying to make content, brother. That's all I'm trying to do. You know what
I mean? Yeah. Look, if you look at the statistics, and you look at what's happening economically in our country right now, we're in a recession. We've got the highest inflation that we've had since I don't even know when. There's a lot of people who, because of the pandemic, they're not earning what they used to be, whether it's their hours have been cut or, whatever the case may be, right? So these are right now financially hard times, right? And even before the pandemic, though, the number of two income earning households was growing and growing, because it's just really hard today, to have a one income household situation. I'm not saying it can't be done. Of course it can. I live outside the Washington, D.C. area. You guys are also in, metropolitan areas. These are high cost of living areas. And so, I think that kind of framework of the guy goes out to work, the woman, is the person who's taking care of the home and raising the children. It's not that it's impossible, but it's harder and harder to do.
So you like, for like with the amount of mentoring coaches that you have with the couples that you do with, like, what have you seen is a high moment, a light bulb click in their head where they realize, like, because I do feel like that is a true like bridge in the gap between men and women in relationships. You got women that want really that lifestyle to be funded, and then you got men on the other hand, they don't want to get in that contract and get in that trap, so to speak. Some men really feel that way. So it's like, how do you have the conversation to even break that I guess this or bridge the gap, basically, because it seems like both sides kind of have to make sacrifices to come together, but both sides are not budging.
Well, you just answered your own question, I think, in a way. Like, both, there's going to be compromise, right? And that's part of working out your deal, right? Working out your contract, right? Now, here's what I do see, and I'm going to tell you a story of a couple that I'm working with right now. When they got married, she works for the federal government. She has a very secure job with the federal government. Doesn't earn a huge amount, but very secure because it's a government job, and very good benefits.
Good holidays.
Pardon me?
I said great holidays.
Yeah. He is an accountant. And when they got married, between the two of them, they were earning very good money. Well, he got laid off and decided that he hated being an accountant and he was going to start his own company.
Okay.
So for the past 2 years, he's been earning nothing because his company he's reinvesting any, profit, any revenue back into the company. This was not what she signed up for. right? So now they've got all this debt. They're barely, they're barely putting food on the table. And she's like, hey, dude, go back to work. Like, you're an accountant. You could be earning six figures. Like, this is not what I signed up for. Yeah. So the reality of it is he broke the contract, right? But there's going to take some compromise because he has a dream, right? And we want to respect that dream as well.
Now we're potted.
Right? So, again, I'm not a therapist, right? But they came to me because money was kind of at the crux of their problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps you understand, and answer your question a little bit, but just thought I'd share that example.
So this is interesting that you're bringing this up because a lot of people have an idea of what they want when they're starting a relationship, but then part of being in a relationship is discovering not just your partner, but yourself, right? Because a lot of times you're in a relationship, you're holding a mirror to yourself, right? And as you start recognizing yourself, the things you want, don't want, things that you are motivated by, things are likely to change. You're not necessarily going to be the same person later on, especially, whatever age you decide to get married, right? So my question is like, to Chris's question, someone might say, okay, I'm signing up for to be in a relationship with a guy that is a breadwinner and I want to be a stay-at-home wife, right? Or I'm signing up to be with a woman that is a stay-at-home wife, or I'm signing up to be with a woman who works. I want equal partnership financially, right? But then in the relationship, when that kid comes, or when, the turmoil at the job comes, or when turmoil at the economy comes, are you really breaking the contract if, let's say, you see opportunities elsewhere that may not at the moment be fruitful the way you want? Are you really breaking that contract? Or are you just creatively trying to figure out how to fulfill the contract in a long-term basis, not just momentarily?
Oh, this is such a good question. So I
only ask good questions.
You do. You ask great questions. I would say it goes back to being honest about what your core values are. There's an exercise as a financial coach that I do with my clients where I have a sheet with about 26 different words on it that represents values. And I ask people to circle the top 5 words that represent their values. So words like security, freedom, spirituality, ambition, family, and if you share the same values, core values, then even when there are bumps in the road or different opportunities, you're going to go back to those same values. So let's take that couple again that I talked about. So one of her core values was security.
Yeah.
But he did not share that value. One of his values was freedom, right? And flexibility. And that's what was so appealing to him about starting his own company. It gave him more freedom and flexibility. So if they had done this exercise, as they were dating, they would have realized you've got one person who highly values security and tradition and rituals and, consistency, and another person who is of high, values freedom and flexibility. And those are not, really so compatible, right? So finding out your core values will help you as you meander, through life, because there will be stuff, right? That hits you, right? Different bumps in the road that we can never predict. But if you share the same values, I think you'll be able to work through that.
Alissa.
What?
What about the independent woman?
Oh, no. Woo!
Oh, man.
What about
the independent woman, who has her own, she makes six figures. She really doesn't need a man financially. She's secure by herself. Mm-hmm. Now, what it seems like, I'm not God. What it seems like is those kind of women want men to make as much money or more in their relationships. And do you agree with that? Or have you seen that in your practice?
I have seen that. Okay. And I do think that that's fairly prevalent, but it doesn't mean everybody's like that.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm curious to how those independent independent women, how they merge in relationship when it comes to kind of running this together. Can you give an example of just what that household is financially? Because I feel like there's a lot more independent women who are killing it, but they are struggling to find, suitable partners. And then even when they find suitable partners, how can y'all come together and work as a team?
Yeah. Again, it goes back to those values, right? So let's say I was this, independent, six-figure earner, well-educated, successful woman, right?
And it also, I'm sorry to cut you off, but these women also have state to some of these men that I don't need you for money. Ooh. And a lot of men, they feel valued, they feel wanted, they feel needed because they know they have that to offer. But right. I just want to ask context.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's all correct. All right. So let's take that woman and let's say she meets somebody who, isn't earning a lot of money right now.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean he's always going to be in that financial situation. So if I was a man, right, I would highlight that, right? If that was the conversation. But here's the thing. If you're a man and you're running into, or you're dating a lot of those women, I would ask myself, is that something that's important to you? Maybe you want a woman who's earning a lot and financially secure. So maybe that's you.
It ain't me personally. I'm just making the record clear.
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. Wink, wink.
Well,
ain't no winking over here.
well, let me ask you a question though, because right now we're talking about being in these relationships, and you briefly touched on marriage. So, what do you think the biggest mistake couples make when getting married, or making the decision to get married?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say something that is probably going to make a lot of your listeners not very happy.
What? Let's get canceled today. Let's do it.
But here's my opinion. Here's my opinion. I think it is insane, crazy to spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on a 6-hour event that we call a wedding. It makes me crazy when I see the debt that people get into. I'm like, oh my God, you could put a down payment on a house.
Yeah, multiple homes.
Several houses.
Yeah. I'm not saying don't have a celebration, but you know what? Let's face it, it's one day.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks after that day, I can almost guarantee you that every single guest at your wedding isn't thinking about your wedding for 2 seconds. And, so for me, I think the biggest mistake is having these giant, fancy, over the top weddings. Keep it simple, keep it small, keep it.
Can you give me a dollar amount? I want the people to know what's the dollar amount
I would say,
that you recommend.
Anywhere. You can make it really great and special on a budget. You really can.
Give me the budget. Just give me the
Chris is planning for a wedding.
I went to one of the nicest weddings I've ever been in, and it was in the bride's parents' backyard. It was so nice. So, I would say not to spend more than 20 grand max.
Now,
just my personal opinion.
So I mean, it's good to put a number, and I appreciate the question actually, but it's also good to understand people have different means.
Yes.
Right. So like, if I'm making $40 million a year, right, you could still do a 20 grand wedding. Yeah. But your lifestyle and the people you know and the accommodations you have for given how you live your life, 20 grand might not be enough, right? I think the better place to take the conversation is, if you were to spend 50 grand on your wedding, what would you need to have set up first for it to make sense to you, right? Or even if you spend 100 grand on a wedding, or even 20 grand, because you could tell somebody 20 grand is a good number. They might only make $29,000 a year.
Right. I understand. Yeah. And so here's the thing. I would say the concept that I'm trying to communicate, because I really don't know as far as a number, but the concept is don't go into debt for a wedding. So if you have the cash to pay for it, you've saved up for it, and you choose that this is important to you and this is where you want to spend your money, go for it.
Yeah.
As a financial coach, I never tell people how they should spend their money. It's not my money, right? Yeah. I'll tell people, to avoid debt. I'll tell people to save, right? And I'll help them understand why it's in their best interest to do these things. Yeah. But if they want to go out, and buy a unicorn, go for it. As long as you have the money, the cash to do it. Because maybe buying a unicorn is really important to you, right? So again, it's knowing what you value, and it's allocating your money to the things that are important to you. Because what's important to me might be different. I might think having a big wedding is ridiculous, but you know what? There may be a couple who dreamed about having a huge wedding their entire life, and it is so important to them, and they should have that. Yeah. But if it's something that's really important, you got to save up for it so that you have the money.
Chris, how do you feel about that?
I agree.
I can tell because you were clapping in the background. You were doing a little dance.
100%. I mean, to me, it's kind of like it's kind of how I look at it. It's like if your annual income is like $80,000, then to me you shouldn't spend $50,000 on a wedding. To me you probably even shouldn't spend $20,000. To me if people are forcing me to give a number, I would say 10% of their total gross annual income. That's how much you need to spend on the wedding. Because a lot of people, you can make 50,000, right? And you can have all these assets saved, and then you can pay cash, but it's like, did you really need to spend that much? Because the budget to me is what most important. And I also think people have to be creative. I love the fact that people get married in backyards. It can save a lot of chunk. And if you do want a unicorn, you got more money to go to the unicorn. So to me, it's like you have to intentionally budget, get creative where you all right, we can do this on a budget. Let's see how we can really make this happen versus everything got to be 50,000. You know what I mean? I need the best flowers. I'm not going to use mom and pop down the street that I can probably get a potential deal. Or if they come and sell some bouquets, maybe can take the price off. People don't think like that. People just want to pay, swipe, and move on.
I have not a theory. I have an advice for the world, right?
Ooh.
I love it.
A lot of times people say, oh, your wedding should be this much, you should have this, you should have that, and so on and so forth, right? We should change the rules and say, from now on, all weddings need to be in a backyard. Hear me out. Hear me out. You can spend as much money as you want on the wedding, if it's 20,000 or 20 million, right? It's got to be at a backyard, but it has to be on the backyard of a home you bought before you got married, right? So if part of that budget is getting that home, you'll walk through the journey of this is what it takes to acquire assets and do such and such, right? And then if you want to have the best looking wedding, you will buy the venue.
Yeah.
And you do what it takes, because a lot of people, they rent out these castles. Okay. I'm telling, like, I'm gonna just give you context. So I have, this is not me trying to brag. I'm going to give you, this is context, right? I have a fairly nice car, right?
Man, no,
stop.
Fairly nice, my behind.
Just
do not let him capture you, Alissa, on here. You say the year, you say the make, and you say the model, brother.
There's a reason why I'm bringing this up, right?
Okay.
and I typically like cars. Like I like nice cars. So the car that I had previously, I used to rent it out to people. Because I live in New York City. There was a time where I wasn't driving that much. I was taking a train and so on and so forth. So the car was sitting there, right? I was paying a lot of money per month. I didn't need the money, but it was just one of those things where it's just like, it's just sitting there. It's just collecting dust and
that's a great
whatever,
thing to do.
right? So 100%. I used to rent it out. So I used to rent it out to a lot of weddings. Mm-hmm. People used to pay me an exorbitant amount of money per day. Okay? Like rent money per day to have a nice wedding. And they used to send me photos of my car in their weddings. They used to be next to castles, next to all kinds of stuff, right? Which is, great. I'm making money, whatever. But at the same time, if you look at it in context, a lot of people are renting these experiences. So they want to live this prince and princess lifestyle for a day. I'm like, why not do it for a lifetime? So buy the venue and then host it at the venue. That will change the whole landscape of how people treat money. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is a little bit off topic, but I think it's important to talk about. I want to talk about the mindset of I deserve. Right. So this is something like the way you talk to yourself in your head, right? The money mantras that we say are really important. So a lot of times people will say this, I deserve, fill in the blank, right? Yeah. They'll say things like, I had a really stressful week at work. My boss was on me all the time. I had all these projects due. I deserve on the weekend to, go shopping and have some retail therapy. Or, I grew up poor. I deserve to have, a luxury model car. And I'm not saying that's you. I'm just, or, my husband and I are fighting, right? There's a lot of, we're not getting along. We deserve to go take this vacation, right? I deserve, right? But that's sometimes looking for a short-term fix for something. Yeah. I could argue that what you deserve even more is to have a lot of money in the bank for your financial security, right? And what you deserve, right, is the opportunity to become work optional later in your life if you desire that lifestyle. So I think, as we're talking about these choices that people make with their money, right, which is really what we're talking about, whether it's spending a lot on a wedding or spending a lot on a luxury car or, whatever the case, or buying a unicorn, right? The bottom line is that we need to be careful about the money mantras that we say to ourselves and understand our mindset around money, because that is impacting our behaviors in such a big way. And we need to, really try hard to think long-term.
Facts. I mean, that's 100% pure facts. The amount of appointments, coaching, meetings, the amount of interviews, all the people that have seen build wealth, have really just got to financial freedom, all did it with delayed gratification. It's like a chair or a stool. If you do not have delayed gratification, you're not going to reach financial freedom, because you have to delay your impulses. You have to delay, like she said, those mindsets, like, man, I deserve this. Like, cause you can literally justify wrongdoing with your feelings, with your desires, with your emotions. You can justify and do it. And a lot of people unintentionally, they do it with money. And then you see it Like, and then if you do it, you also get rewarded with it. Yep. That's why, respectfully, I ain't trying to attack nobody, but that's why women love traveling. I mean, women want to travel all the time because you could put it on Instagram. You can have these pictures. You can do all these things. You look like you, and you see other people that, and then you be like, you know what? I deserve that too.
Yeah.
And then we go pod now because I know men here that are in relationships are trying to practice delayed gratification. All right, they trying to do it, but women pressure them into spending money. Yeah, but or pressure them I deserve this, and vice versa. It goes both ways. But I'm just talking.
Yeah, but women motivate men in a lot of ways. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. That's why it's always 100%. Good to have a good woman.
Yeah, and I think that's like, to me, like, you can't reach financial freedom unless you have delayed gratification, because you got to have that in the plan. Because if you make more money and then you justify spending more money, you're going to still be in the same cycle, just with more money and more stuff.
Right. Yeah. There's a woman named Paula Pant, and she's written a bunch of books, and she's on social media. She's like a personal finance, guru or whatever. And she has this great phrase, and I'm going to see if I can remember it word from word. It's not from me. It's I've heard Paula Pant say it. And she says, you can afford anything, just not everything. Right? And like, I love that. You can afford anything, just not everything. And I think that, Chris, that's exactly what you're talking about. That if you want to go on a vacation, if you want to, drive a luxury car, you want to, whatever your money priorities are, you can do that, but you can't do everything. Right? So there has to be some level. Even the wealthiest person in the world can't go out and buy everything and do everything they want. You have to have some level of, making choices, and that's what it's about.
Let me ask you a question, right? Given that, like, a lot of people have aspirations to be married and money is a big factor, right? I want you to answer this question from 2 points of views, and it might be the same response. Maybe it's not, right? First, you're going to answer it from the point of view of everyone else around you that you've seen in general, and then you got to answer it from your own personal point of view.
Okay.
Do you think today marriage is about romance, religion, or financial? If you had to pick one,
I would say romance and money, both.
No, we're not doing this. Doing this. I need to say, what do you think people think of the most?
Okay, then I'm gonna go with romance.
Okay,
I'm gonna say romance.
So you feel go ahead.
Here's why I say that. Okay, because when we are in love with someone, right, we sugarcoat the other things. We don't see their flaws. We put the flaws over to the side. If there's things we don't agree on in our mind, we're like, it's okay. I can live with that, or it's okay. I can change them. Right. So I think we get this romantic feeling, romantic vision, and it causes us to overlook a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is that the general public, or is that your opinion?
That's the general public.
What's your response to the question? What do you think the biggest value?
I was no different. I was no different.
I'm talking about today, not in the past. Today, where's your mind at right now? What do you think the biggest value people get from marriage or pursue? If it was you today, is it romance? Is it religion? Religious obligation, or financial?
I'm still going to go with romance, because if my husband hadn't earned a penny, I'd still want to be married to him.
Okay.
Ain't that beautiful?
It's beautiful.
That's the truth.
Ain't that beautiful?
Unrealistic for a lot of women and men.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate the mindset. And the thing is, a lot of people can say those things because it sounds nice. And I'm not, if that's what you're saying, I believe you. I'm just saying a lot of people say, I'm married for love. I'm married for love. But then somebody says, oh, won't you sign this prenup though?
I hear you.
So I'll ask Chris first. Chris, what are your thoughts on prenups?
My thoughts on it, if it's something where you feel like you're not going to give your all in the marriage as a husband, as a father, if y'all going to have a family, and you really feel like this contract or this something that you have to have for you to show up to your best every single day, because people don't understand that if you're not showing up to your best every single day in a relationship, other people are going to be affected around you. So if you know that's to be true and that's the case, then y'all need to have that conversation. For me, like I don't plan on signing a prenup. I don't plan on doing it because I know I can show up in a relationship and be fine. Now, if I'm thinking like, man, I need to do this before I enter the marriage, then you daggone right, I'll do that. So to me, you have to really have that self-awareness and be honest with yourself and be transparent, because I'm telling you, if you don't do that, you get into the marriage and you're not all in, one, he or she going to see that, you're going to realize that, you're going to feel that, and then other people are going to be affected by it. And now, you know, you're in a rocky situation.
Okay. Alissa, what are your thoughts on prenups as a financial coach?
I agree with Chris.
Okay.
But I would say what I would add to that is I think the exception to that would be somebody who has a great deal of wealth or assets. You know, because there unfortunately are people out there who are scammers, right? Who are just looking to, you know, get married to somebody extremely wealthy, and 6 months later they're like, I want a divorce and I want half your money, or, you know, whatever. So unless you're really, really wealthy, I would say, in my mind, you got to be, just like Chris said, 100% all in.
Let me ask you a question. Pick a number. What is the financial threshold when you're saying if you're making this much per year, or if you have this value in assets, it would be very smart, regardless of where you're at. It would be very smart.
I have no idea. I don't know.
It doesn't have to be the right answer.
It doesn't have to be the right answer.
It doesn't have to be a right answer.
You already acknowledge if you're somebody that's wealthy, right? To you, what do you think? What do you think is like a financial amount that you think there should be a conversation about prenup?
Are we talking a first marriage or a second marriage? Because
First. I'm talking about one and done.
The fact that like that's the consideration, because it does like probably skew your mindset if you've already gone through a marriage before. So I get that.
I'm sure it does. If I get a divorce, and I'm wealthy after, I'm for sure probably getting a prenup. It's never happened again. Because like Alissa said, like you need something destructive to change. When I had to pay taxes, that changed my. I was like, oh no, that's never happened again. So I know if I had to pay a divorce, oh no. It's gonna be all kinds of prenuptials. Oh no, not happening again.
Okay, so Alissa, give me a number. How much would any party, man or woman, would have to make in today's market, today's economy, where you say it would be smart for this person to sign a prenup?
You're gonna make me say a number, huh?
I mean, welcome to the Introspect Club. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. I've never really thought about that. So I'm just going to go with my gut here. I'd say 5 million.
It's 5 million in assets or 5 million a year?
5 million in assets.
Okay. What about income? If it was just purely income, not assets.
Oh my God. I don't know.
If it was like your son.
1.5 million.
1.5 million a year, that person should think about doing a prenup. Now, if they're making $500,000 a year, you're saying, I'm just saying that wouldn't have come to your mind.
I don't know.
Right? Okay. Chris.
Well, yeah, I understand, Alissa's like, you need so much more information to really give an accurate decision. That's the thing about like when you're dealing with finances, and you have to hear both sides of the story. You got to know they makeup. You got to know the situation. You got to know all that stuff to even get an accurate answer. So I understand. I get you.
I mean, if I was somebody with significant income or significant wealth, I would be more careful before getting married. That's the reality of it, right? I would probably date longer, right? I wouldn't rush into it, right? That's just being practical. So, maybe that's a very unromantic, viewpoint, but I think you need to, kind of protect yourself a little bit in today's world. I mean, that's the reality of it.
So, Chris, same question to you. For you specifically, how much money would you think is a certain income? I don't know what your income is. I don't care. Yeah. It's more so, what number do you think whether you've reached it or haven't reached it, that you are earning where you're saying, okay, this kind of income, I need to have a prenup per year.
I think what it is.
I'm asking you, what do you think? What's that number for you?
It would probably be like somewhere around $1 million.
I would say
a year. 500, huh?
$1 million a year.
Like a year. Per year, between like 500,000 to $1 million. Because this is what the really thing is, and this is why I say it's a range. Because if I play it correctly, you really honestly shouldn't know how much money I make per year. Because that's the thing. If people are flashing stuff and you are attracting these kind of people to take advantage of you, then it's kind of like, you need to be more careful because you putting yourself out there. Now, if you're reserved, people don't know how much money I made last year. People don't know how much money I made the year before. I like that.
But if you're in a relationship, eventually your partner is going to know how much you make per year.
100%. And I think it also comes down exactly the lifestyle and all this stuff. But I think 500,000 per year to $1 million per year. Facts. Anything above. I like the 5 million in assets as well. It really depends on the assets. Yeah, that works.
Hey, Jeff, what's your answer?
Hey, why y'all flipping? Why y'all flipping it on me?
Answer the question.
Why do I feel uncomfortable?
We were uncomfortable.
Here's what I find interesting. Right?
You gonna sign a prenup regardless?
No. Just before I answer the question, this is what I find interesting. The people that have more to lose also have more to give. Right? And the people that are earning less, that has less to lose, they also has less to give, right? This one comedian once said, he's like, I don't understand how these like athletes and millionaires are complaining, giving half to their wives in alimony, when like if you make $20-30 million or you have that much and you give your wife half because you made a mistake, you still a millionaire. But he's like, but if I make 20,000 and I have to give somebody half, I might have to kill somebody.
That's true. I never thought of it that way.
That's facts.
You know what I'm saying? Because those guys end up sleeping on a couch after their divorce.
That's what that's what it is. Honestly, if my lifestyle is changed drastically because of this divorce, then I have to sign a prenup. That's just what you have to protect yourself. That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. So it seems like it's like the adverse. It's like you're saying, if you don't make that much, don't get a prenup. If you don't sign a prenup when you don't make that much, your relationship going wrong has a larger impact on you than if you're a millionaire. Like Jeff Bezos can give away billions and he'd be like, I'm still going to space. You see what I'm saying? So I just find that interesting.
He did give away to his now ex-wife billions.
That's my point.
Ain't she like the richest woman in the world now?
And she's fabulous because she's giving it all away.
Sure, and
that's true. And she's married to like a science teacher. I love it.
She's donating millions and millions and millions of dollars.
And you know what? And that's great, but it's proving my point. It's just like people say you only get prenup when you make a certain amount of money, above a certain threshold, but then below, it should be about love. When in reality is like they suffer. Those people, men and women, because I know stories of women. I know one not personally, but I know of a person, a woman, and particularly, she made a certain amount of money. She made more money in the relationship, and she got divorced. And she wasn't a millionaire, but then she said, "I'm never getting married again because I got taken to the cleaners." You know what I mean? She said that, and she wasn't a millionaire. And I'm not saying that's what you should put in the forefront of your mind, but like, we have to be honest with ourselves. Like, it's not about a certain. The question was a trick question. It's not about a certain number. It's about what you're willing to risk in your relationship, and then what type of dynamic you plan on having, especially if you're somebody to say, I want somebody who will stay at home. If you want somebody to stay at home, is it more so you're more willing to give up a half if it doesn't work out, or are you more protective because you know you're going to be giving up more? Like, it just depends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to put another twist on this I deserve mantra, right? So, we have some people we've talked about, around the mindset of, I deserve a man or a spouse, right? I deserve a spouse who earns really good money. I deserve a spouse who's going to buy me nice things, right? I deserve a spouse who's going to, give me the lifestyle I want to live. And I would say that's short term, right? Thinking, because the spouse who can give you all those things today, you know what? Stuff happens, and maybe they can't give that to you tomorrow, right? Yeah. And I would say, no, what you deserve is love. What you deserve is compassion. What you deserve is unity. What you deserve is a shared vision. Yeah. Those are things that you deserve. Yeah. The money things, that money comes and goes. So I don't know. I have a different perspective on it.
This is why I said the backyard wedding. Right? Because this is what I say. I say people should get married in the court first, buy the house, like for the wedding, buy the house, get your chateau, right? Have the wedding in the backyard because the woman's going to have the vision. So if you have a vision of what kind of backyard you want, what kind of house, build a plan together to financially make that happen together. Right? Regardless of who's bringing in more money or not. And then if at that point, that's when I say a prenup is out of the question, because you are already going into it building together, versus there are people who are just coming into shack. You see what I'm saying? That's because that's going to kick the gears together of like, we need to build wealth together, regardless if you're already a millionaire, because there's still more building to happen. And I think that's when you're really going to see if you need a prenup or not.
I think the character of the person is really the thing as well. I couldn't even imagine going through a divorce and like intentionally being nasty to that person, like trying to take them to the cleaners. Like, to me, like, I can't even imagine marrying myself like that. Like, so I can't even make it that far. Like you see, like my reasons for the prenup has to be something where it's like on a protective side, but I do like the compromise of like, you're building something together. So both y'all have kind of skin in the game. And like I said, I think if you really pick the right person that I always want someone who's going to love me where I'm at right now, regardless. Like, if this is the best you can get, you should be happy, fulfilled, got all that stuff. Then when I get better, you should idolize me. Not like in a bad way, but it's like, I'm trying to get better. But it's like, if you are only solely like here off just the sheer potential or this expectation or whatever, and if it doesn't happen, then you may not show up the way you need to show up, because I understand that on my end, so there's things that we both have to understand and communicate and really just like have that conversation before we move forward.
Alissa, can you share, you coach a lot of people, right? Can you give me the most transformative coaching experience you've ever had with a client when it comes to managing their finances?
Probably the one that's made the biggest impact on me is a couple that we've worked with for about 2 years now, who, when they came to us, very, very high earners. They actually earn over $500,000 a year. One is a surgeon and one is an attorney, right? Husband and wife, right? So they both have very high incomes.
Wait, that's their household income, 500,000, or is that each?
No, their household income is between $500,000 and $600,000.
Oh, that makes sense.
A year.
That makes sense.
Oh.
I live in New York.
A lot of money.
I live in New York City, so the normalcy here. So I'm a little skewed.
Okay. Well, they live right outside Washington, D.C. in Montgomery County, Maryland. That's a very affluent county.
Yeah.
And then is that close to PG County?
It's close to PG County. PG
so
is not
they got
affluent,
money.
though.
Yeah, they got money. Yeah.
It's
the churches got money. The churches are probably the best stewards of money. I'm gonna stop talking.
It's Potomac, Bethesda. I don't know if you've heard of those places, but so they have very, very high income, but they came to us for help because they had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And almost no savings, almost none. And these were people in their 40s, right? 2 kids.
Okay.
So when we did their budget, believe it or not, they were spending every dime they were making, right? Wow. And so here's what happened. They got into what I call lifestyle creep.
Oh no.
As they earn more money, they accelerated at their lifestyles. So they went from a small house to, or like a 6,000 square foot house. They both drove very high-end luxury vehicles. Their children went to private schools. They had this mentality of I deserve, right? I'm a surgeon, right? I deserve to have somebody who cleans my house. I deserve to have somebody who drives my children around to after school activities. Damn. I deserve to have somebody who walks my dog in the middle of the day. I deserve to have a chef come and cook dinner for me every night. I deserve to take several fabulous vacations every year. I deserve, right? So they came to us because his marriage was almost breaking up with the stress of spending, and realizing, and they both had student debt.
Obviously.
Right.
Surgeon, lawyer. Yeah, we already
realizing that they had this vision of I'm successful, but they had nothing to speak of financially.
Damn.
And so the same process that we do with somebody who earns $100,000 a year, we do with somebody who earns $600,000 a year.
Yeah.
We help them understand their mindset around money, why they do what they do with their money, right? Their money story, right? Their emotions connected to their money. And then we help them put together a spending and savings plan. I don't call it a budget because a lot of people, when they hear the word budget, they're like, I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So what we call it a spending and savings plan. And it basically what it did is it put them in control of their money. And so they started to rethink some of their financial choices. And again, you know what? We're only going to take one vacation this year so that we don't feel deprived. We still want to go on vacation, but we're going to skip the other 2 so that we can pay off debt. We can invest in our 401ks. We can, do those. So it's just helping them think through those money choices. So here we are almost 2 years later, and they have a significant amount of their debt paid off. They have significant assets invested now in a well-diversified portfolio. And we do not give investment advice, but we hook them up with a financial advisor that we know and trust. And they're in a completely different financial situation today. And that marriage is 100 times better because they now have a plan that they're working towards together.
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
Beautiful story.
Do you have any questions for regarding what she just said?
No, I thought that was absolutely fabulous what she just said. I think that's what it's beautiful to see that you can really have a redemptive story, no matter what your situation is. And, you know, for people who are watching that, you know, when they hear like, man, they making 500,000, they think they're doing so well.
Exactly.
But when you really get in the groove of things, you know, it's like, if at that point, at their age and what they're making, they're really not doing so well. You know, so there's freedom in that you can change things around, and where you are today, it's not too late. You know, you got you made the right decision, have the right plan, have the right discipline, and have the consistency. You can bring anything into your life and change anything around.
I want to ask something in regards to the whole relationship thing, because a lot of people, they get into marriages, relationships as a whole, ultimately to raise a family, right? And the story you just said about the you know, doctor or the surgeon and the lawyer, and then they got kids and vacation and stuff like that. Those are habits that they're building around their children, right? What do you think the best way to teach kids? What do you think is the best way to teach children about money?
I think the best way is to make sure that you're talking about money a lot in your household. It's got to be part of your, you know, dinner conversation. Like it's just got to be a regular part of their lives. So, you know, if you can't afford something, right, I think it's okay to tell your children, we don't have the money for this right now because we're doing X with our money. We're making a different choice, because that teaches them about money choices. I think it's okay, you know, if you get a raise, to say, hey, mommy got a raise.
Great,
you know,
we're going to Disneyland.
No, I don't know about that, but
we're gonna get all the candies.
All
the candies.
You know, but I think it's important to, you know, be somewhat transparent. We never told our children exactly what we earned. We never told our children exactly how much we had in our investments. Yeah. But we had conversations around financial choices in front of our children, so they could see how mom and dad navigated that situation. And I think that's really important. I would say the other thing is that even though, you know, we probably could have afforded to give them a lot more than we did.
Don't tell them that.
We didn't.
Don't tell them that.
No, they know that. Oh, they know that, you know, when they were 16 and, you know, they were, do I get a car? You know,
right? Every
16-year-old wants,
Price is Right.
You know, wants a car. You know, we said to them, okay, here's the dollar limit, right? Here's the amount that we will contribute towards your car, right? But the caveat with that is that you have to match it. So in other words, if we were giving them $3,000, they had to come up with $3,000. They had to work and get $3,000. So they had to match it.
That's pretty slick.
So if they were lazy and didn't work at all, they didn't get a car. If they went out there and hustled, right? But they had to save up for it. So brilliant. It taught them that they have to earn things. It taught them nothing is free, right? Yeah. You know, it taught them financial responsibility. And it taught them that even though they all drove, you know, older cars, because let's face it, we didn't have a huge budget, right? Now, again, my older kids are, you know, 31, 30, 28. I mean, they're older. So, you know, we're talking more than a decade ago that they were buying cars. So for $5,000, $6,000, you could buy a fairly decent, you know, car for a kid.
Back then, not in this market.
Yeah, not now. Right, not now.
It's impossible now.
No.
Right, exactly. But, you know, it also taught them that even though they're not driving the really nice, new, shiny, you know, whatever that maybe some of the other kids in the school parking lot like drove up in, their car was, you know, kind of older and maybe had a ding or two in it or whatever, that was okay. You know, that they were just as, you know, popular, just as smart, just as great a friend, you know, that as the other kids.
Chris, what do you think about that?
I love everything that she said. I think the conversation piece is a piece I truly believe in. To me, it's kind of like, in order to, I don't have any kids, so this is just what I believe is going to be like. But it's kind of like working out. Like if you want to make a change, you kind of have to like talk about it, and you got to literally do it, more times than not. So if you're trying to teach people, money and money habits and, entrepreneurship, it has to be a conversation. I wish my family would have had more conversations like that. I wish, I could like had that kind of experience, that kind of knowledge, because really knowledge brings like different perspectives. It brings opportunity. There were things that, my family had did that taught me a lot of other things, which I'm definitely glad and grateful for. But if it was much more of a consistent conversation, like why are you doing this? What does this mean? What is opportunity cost? Simple things like that will change kids, makeup when they think about money forever, because you had instilled in them those foundational things that most people are learning in their mid to late 20s. And then now they have to like stop all the bad habits that they have been used to doing since 16 years old.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else we did that I think was really smart. When our kids were older, like college age, one year for the holidays, we said to them, you're not getting presents. Instead, we're going to give you a couple $100 and you can pick a stock. You are buy stock.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Oh yeah. She's
She's on her money.
She's not
game.
only telling, like speaking the game, she's practicing it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They had to sit through like a little class we did for them.
Oh, you're not playing.
No, we're not playing. We had to like we prepared
great.
Like a handout, my husband and I, no lie. Okay.
It's a whole TED talk.
Oh yeah. So we sat them down and we're like, these are some terms that you need to know, like, what is a
index fund?
What does an annualized return mean? Or, like what's a diversified portfolio? Like we just educated them like a little bit, right? And then we said, okay, now before you get the money, you have to go and research the stock and tell us why you think it's a good stock to buy. Yeah. Right. And then we set up an account. I think we did it through Schwab, right? We set up their own account and we showed them, this is how you log in. This is how you see how your stock is doing. Wow. And to this day, like we have like a family chat, like on, our phones, like, we talk about all kinds of stuff. Right. And literally to this day, my kids will be like, oh my God, my stock went up. Like, do you guys see this? Like, and my 3 older kids who are all young working adults, they all invest. My youngest kid who's in college, he actually also, even though he, when he gets $20, he's running out to buy, $18 worth of beer, but he'll take the other $2 and like he's investing. So, and I really believe that by doing that, it gave them the tools and the knowledge and the confidence that they could start doing that.
Wow. I just want to add one thing, and it's really not even adding. It's really just adding perspective. I love it because you are able to teach because you actually do it. Yes. A lot of the times, like when parents are not teaching their kids financial planning or money, they don't know how to do it themselves. They don't know what none of this stuff means. Yep. So you personally have to educate yourself. That's why I say with financial, like money, you have so much time to learn everything. You got taxes, real estate, budgeting, investments, stocks, index funds, crypto. You have so much out
NFTs,
there. Like, you got stuff to do. You got something to learn, because if you can really learn that, you are able to really teach your kids that. You can practice that, and and that's the beauty of it. You can't teach your kids something that you are not doing yourself.
And you know what? And I'm going to circle back. Everything you just said, Chris, was triggered what I'm going to say here. I'm going to circle back to a question that I asked early on the show when I said, what do you think one of the biggest mistakes people make before getting into relationships, right? One of the things I like to say is like, I want to raise children, but I want to make sure I embody the type of person that my children will either want to be or want to be with.
Yeah.
Right. And that is in all facets, right? I take care of myself physically, mentally, and financially. So the financial part, you have to ask yourself, are your habits good enough for your children? Not in terms of to have children and support them, but do you want your children doing the same? Would you be proud or would you be concerned? Right? And when you think about it that way, and the way you're thinking about it, Alissa, which I think is brilliant, I think you should, whatever you're getting paid, you're not getting paid enough. Bottom line, right? For you to say that you're telling, like, you've embodied this entire lifestyle, it's natural for you, right? The things you're thinking about doing with your children, it's natural. Why? Because you lived it, you experienced it, and you went through the trials and tribulations, and you built yourself up to this type of person where the only way to raise your children is the way you raise yourself financially. And I think that's brilliant. And I'm very, I'm very proud to be in the presence of someone who has that kind of mindset. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm just podcasting, so I'm just bigging you up. Like, this is brilliant. It's brilliant. 100%. So in the effort of helping people, since you do this, right, I have questions that I receive either from previous guests or listeners of the show. And I want to know if you have some time to answer just a couple questions.
Sure. Okay. Go for it.
All right. Some of the questions are like, deeply rooted, but I want to keep it in the context of the conversation we're talking about when it comes to finance. All right. So here's the first question.
What do you feel that we do today as a society better than we did 50 years ago?
Oh.
How do you feel about that?
I would say, and this really doesn't have anything to do with money. I would say that we are more open as a society than we were 50 years ago.
What do you mean?
50 years ago, if I was, homosexual, I could not talk about that, right? Whereas today, you can, right? 50 years ago, right? If my daughter and son-in-law had wanted to get married, it would have been against the law.
What do you mean?
Because I'm obviously white and my son-in-law is black. So that would have been, I don't know, 50 years ago, but 60 years ago, right? If I want to live a vegan lifestyle today, right? Which 50 years ago, okay, people would have thought you were out of your mind, right? So I think, as a society, I think in some ways we've become more open and accepting of differences, and we still have a long way to go, but I do think we have made some progress as a society when it comes to being accepting of people who don't act like us, think like us, look like us,
right,
love like us, whatever the case may be.
Chris, how do you feel about her response, and then what's your response to that question?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. Like, society is more, open and more accepting to new things, in past 50 years. We know that. I think what popped up in my head was we have access to information. I think that's the biggest thing that
you stole my answer.
You said what?
You stole my answer.
Oh man, I'm sorry, brother.
No. Go ahead.
That's new with the first. I was like, man, information. It's like we have so much access to all the stuff. Like, we got millionaires that's running podcasts. We have, coaches that are teaching people how to start businesses. You got this show, like, making you think about, like your world and how you can really connect with people. It's so much information out there, and I think people have to really understand that and take advantage of it. And I think that's the biggest blessing. I was even having a conversation with people, members of my family, where it's like, and our generation before us, like, they didn't know all the information that we know, so they only did what they knew.
Right.
So it's like now, we have access to everything.
Yeah.
We know all this information. It's time for us to get to work. So that to me, I think information is the biggest thing that has blessed society, even though that comes with some pros and that comes with cons, but we ain't got to talk about that right now.
Listen, since you took the words right out of my mouth, I'm just gonna remain a student during this question being answered. No, I think everything you guys said is brilliant. I think, to Alissa's point, like the level of like open-mindedness that we have as a community. I know there's still a lot of like bigotry and racism, as well as like, closed-minded people that still exist, but we have to also congratulate ourselves for the leaps that we've made, even though we still have a lot of work to do. And to Chris's point, who stole my answer, I was going to say the same. I think the amount of access we have to information gives us less excuses for failure, right? Gives us less excuses to be lazy, because a lot of times you can say, oh, that person did it because of this, that person because of that, so I could never do such and such. And there's still that mindset. But now, because you have so much information that's accessible to so many people, that you can create your own vision of your own dream because of what access you have for like-minded people. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's a powerful thing, especially coming in today's environment compared to 50 years ago. One more question. You have time for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is some piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Your face just lit up with that one. I feel like you were thinking about this before the show started.
No. Well, let me relate it to money, since, that's kind of our topic of the day.
Yes.
The advice I would give to myself would have been to start investing earlier. I didn't start really investing and saving until my early 30s. So, I wasted a lot of years, and, I could have, retired even earlier, or had even more of, a portfolio if I had started earlier, because of the way, money grows and compounding interest and, all of that. So that would be my answer.
That's very on brand with this conversation. So I appreciate that answer. Chris.
Yeah, I'll keep it on money topic as well. I think really building on momentum that I should have started on earlier, like reading like books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and studying personal finance in college. There were things that I had put my focus on, besides of just like building assets, because I was trying to build a business, which is fine. I feel like I could have did both at the same time, because I put you gotta put money into podcasts. Especially back when we started in 2017. It was like a new mixtape rapper. Like, we didn't know what we were doing at that time. But I believe that's what it is. Like, really understanding exactly. Really about taxes. I think that's what the biggest thing I wish I would have really focused on, is learning about taxes and paying more attention of just how does that happen, and also accounting as well. I think those two things, like really just understanding where your money is going, how you can legally avoid paying taxes.
I think that's
legally.
That's a good point. Since Chris didn't steal my answer this time, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on it. A message I would give to my younger self is I should have would have sought out more money mentors. I'm not saying that because I got a money mentor here. But if you think about it, right? Like I've done okay for myself right now, but it took a lot of grunt work, a lot of mistakes that I probably didn't have to make, right? And if I was a little bit more open to having conversations about money with the right people, I probably would have been able to surround myself or seek out the, environments that will cultivate the right mindset a lot earlier in my life, right? Because we all talk about having friends that got your back, ride or die, which I have those friends. Trust me, I have a good number of those friends. But the good thing is, like, we've all made pretty good for ourselves, and we became each other's kind of accountability partner. Not like we're alcoholics or anything like that, but like more so like, okay, this person accomplished this, and then I'm like, okay, how did you do it? And then I do the same. I accomplish something, like, oh, how did you get into that? And then we kind of help each other that way. But I wish when I was younger, I had somebody that was super accomplished that I could just like follow their lead and, you know, and use them as an example of some of the moves I made. So some of the grunt work would have been more exponentially rewarding compared to like the grunt work I had to do that had to be basically from ground zero. So yeah, that's the advice to my younger self. Okay.
It's not too late.
In the arms of an angel. Okay, so I appreciate everybody's response. So lastly, Alissa, give me 2 to 3 questions you want the next guest to answer.
Okay. Question number 1.
Okay.
If you were, unfortunately, in the Ukraine right now, and you had to flee the country with one suitcase, what would you put in that suitcase?
How big is the suitcase?
Well, you have to carry it, right? You got to walk to the border like some of these people are. So you got to carry it.
Okay.
So what would you put in that suitcase?
Okay. That's a good question. All right. You got another one?
I got another one. What do you think has a greater impact on your life, your mindset or your habits, and why?
Man, that's a good question. That's a really good question.
We can't answer it in this episode.
That's a good question.
People got to tune in for the next one. You have a third one or no?
No, I just have 2.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Chris, did you want to contribute any questions?
I wasn't prepared. I'm sorry.
That's perfectly fine. Alissa, Chris, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Something that I feel is going to be rewarding when I go back to edit this, because I'm going to listen to it over and over, and other people are going to benefit from it as well. Alissa, can you let everybody know how to get in touch with you? If they want to, partake in any of your programs or do business with you, or just kind of like get some feedback on their own financial situations.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say you can go to our website, which is www.moneymentorgroup.com. Mm-hmm. And on our website, you'll see all kinds of resources. We've got tons of freebies, which are, handouts and exercises that you can do to help you on your money journey. We have several digital courses. There's information about our one-on-one coaching, as well as financial wellness and financial literacy workshops that we do. You can also, on our website, schedule a free 15-minute call with myself or my business partner, Jane Helm, who is also the founder of Money Mentor Group. And you can have a free conversation with us to help determine if financial coaching is right for you. You can also follow Money Mentor Group on all of our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse. We have our own club on Clubhouse with over 5,000 members. If you're not familiar with Clubhouse, it's a new audio-only app. It's phenomenal. You can follow me on Instagram at Your Money Mama. Those are all the ways you can connect with us.
Chris, talk to us.
Yeah, you can connect with me through Instagram, Below, BELOWHTX. Also, you can follow me YouTube. My YouTube channel is Christopher Below. I help people save, grow, and protect their money. Then also I have a additional show as well with the roommates. So you can type in the Roommates podcast on YouTube, Roommates as well in Instagram, and you will see that channel as well.
Right on.
Yes, sir.
Again, everybody, thank you for joining us. This episode was brought to you by Skyline Trust Investment Group. If you are a motivated investor that wants to sell or buy a home and make some money, make sure you reach out to these guys. I'll keep their link in the description. They provided a lot of help to me, so make sure you guys do that. My name is Jeff Damisse. I am the host of this show. You can find me at j.damisse for IG and Clubhouse. I think that's my handle for Clubhouse. And then j_damisse for Twitter. I got to do a better job of staying in touch with Twitter though, but whatever. For the podcast is Introspect _Club. That's everywhere on IG, Twitter, Clubhouse, Patreon, YouTube. We're everywhere. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so on and so forth. So make sure you guys reach out to us. So if you have any questions that you want to be answered on the show, make sure you reach out to me in my DMs. And if you are a unique individual that has a unique lifestyle or experience that other people can learn from, reach out to me. I might be able to get you on the show. Alissa, Chris, this was a great conversation. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Later, guys.